Hello everyone. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for telling my parents I'm allowed to resent the times they dragged me to another state to do nothing so my stepsiblings could see their family? When I, 17F, was 5, my mom married my stepdad. My stepdad's first wife died a few years before that, and my stepsiblings 8, 10, and 11 back when my mom and stepdad got married. For the first year, they'd go to their maternal grandparents 2 or 3 times a year for a week and longer in the summer. But then after the first year, my stepdad didn't want them to go alone, so my parents made the decision that we'd take a road trip and stay for as long as my stepsiblings were visiting with their family. They'd stay with their grandparents whenever they visited, but saw a bunch of family. My mom, stepdad, and I would stay in these really cheap tiny places, and we did nothing. Except my stepdad, who'd go to someplace with Wi-Fi and work from his laptop. But that was it. The few times we'd see my stepsiblings while we were there, it was obvious they were being spoiled. The thing that bothers me the most now that I'm older is that we didn't see them much. And they didn't stay in the same place as us, so all it did was rub it in that they had this family who loved them and spoiled them, and they got to have so much fun, and I was bored out of my mind and left waiting to drive back with them. I did get jealous. It wasn't so bad at first. I'd be a little jealous when they left and came back with stuff, or when they got all these extra birthday and Christmas gifts, but it wasn't all that extreme. But I got really resentful after a few years of staying in shitty places and doing nothing for weeks at a time while my stepsiblings had a blast. My stepdad asked a few times if I could be included in places they'd visit, and my stepsiblings' grandparents always said no. My stepdad didn't even ask privately. I'd hear him ask and hear the no. So it sucked even more, and I was embarrassed and hurt for a while. Then it got more awkward when my stepdad would join for a barbecue or lunch at the steps' grandparents' house. We'd all go, and my stepdad's relationship with his first wife's family was weird, and those people couldn't have been more obvious that they didn't want us there. I was left watching kids play together while I was ignored except for my mom and stepdad. My mom made excuses about why we did it, and she'd tell me it wouldn't last forever. When I got older, I pushed back on the weeks of my life spent like that while my stepsiblings got to have fun. My mom claimed the reverse was true, but she could never say when. I had no extended family. My dad bailed the second he found out mom was pregnant with me, and his family didn't want to get to know me either. We weren't wealthy, so I didn't do summer camps or extracurriculars. Maybe we could have afforded it if we weren't spending money on places to stay when my stepsiblings went to their family. I'd hoped the end would come when my stepsiblings move out, but the year after the youngest one left, we still followed them out. This is only the second year we haven't done it. But my parents talk like they want to do it again, and the other day when they were talking about it, I blew up and said I won't go with them again. We argued, and they told me the resentment was unfair and I needed to let it go. That I don't have a good reason to resent them. I told them I'm allowed to resent them after they dragged me to another state in shitholes where I got to do nothing for weeks at a time. I told them they had no idea what that's like for a kid to go where they're not wanted and sit doing nothing while all the other kids get to have fun. My parents told me we do things for families sometimes. I said that was bullshit. Am I the bad person? What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section, and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for not going home during our semester break and letting my family deal with the mess they made? So, for some context, I'm in my second year of college and transferred to a school 2 to 3 hours away from home, so I stay in a boarding house. After my mom passed away a year ago, I took over a lot of household responsibilities, cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, because, well, someone had to. My older sister is a nursing student with a crazy schedule, my younger sister isn't very independent, and my cousin, who moved in at my dad's request, helps with cooking, but that's about it. At the start of the semester, before I left for school, I made sure the house was spotless. The laundry was done, the fridge was stocked with fruits, veggies, and meal-prepped food, and everything was in order. I figured they'd at least try to maintain it. But no. The first weekend I came back, the house was a disaster. Shoes scattered everywhere, dishes piling up, trash overflowing, unfinished takeout rotting in the fridge, and my meal-prepped food completely ignored. I was frustrated but cleaned it up anyway, thinking they were still adjusting. I reminded them, nicely, to at least clean up after themselves, not because I was a clean freak, but because I want them to live in a clean and healthy environment, as it was one of my regrets when my mom died from health complications, and I deeply blamed myself. The next weekend? Same mess. and the weekend after that. At that point, I was done. Home was supposed to be a place where I could rest, not somewhere I had to play housekeeper after a long week. So I just stopped going home. I made excuses, school projects, group hangouts, whatever it took. Then semester break came. It was also a big religious holiday where we honor the dead, and family would be coming over. Normally, I'd be the one running around, making sure everything was clean and prepared. But this time, I told them I had papers to finish and wouldn't be coming home on time. In reality, I knew that if I wasn't there, they would have to clean the house themselves. And sure enough, while I was away, I checked on our group chat and saw them absolutely panicking. They didn't know where things went, struggled to buy all the food they needed, complained about not having space to prepare food because the table was too cluttered, and even ran out of clean plates. Honestly, I felt satisfied knowing they were struggling. I came home the day after the holiday to spend time with them and visit my mom's grave. As expected, they hit me with, "Oh wow, how convenient that you couldn't come home earlier." But the house? It was cleaner than usual. Not perfect, but better. I know they'll probably slip back into old habits, but at least now they've felt what it's like to handle things without me. Maybe next time they'll think twice before taking it all for granted. So, am I the bad person for ditching them and making them clean up their own mess? What do you guys think of this one? Let us know in the comments section, and let's move on to our next story. Case 3. Am I the bad person for hiding the location of my best friend from my wife? About 5 years ago, I moved about 15 hours away from my hometown for a job. Shortly after moving, I met my now wife, Becca. A few years ago, I had a buddy, JR, from back home come stay with me. While here, he met my wife's sister, Maggie. JR and Maggie hit it off. They pretty quickly started dating. Maggie has a daughter from a previous relationship. Daughter's dad is very much in the picture. Almost a year ago, Maggie and JR moved in together. At the time, Maggie was living with her parents because she could not afford rent on her own. Things seemed to be going well. It is a long story, but almost 2 months ago, JR got pretty irrefutable proof that Maggie was cheating on him. He was angry, depressed, and overall distraught. He could not deal with confronting her, but he could also not deal with living with her. He talked to me and wanted my help to get away. So, I reached out to my network of people, who are not mutual friends of Becca and I, to get him a place to stay. Becca, Maggie, Maggie's daughter, and my MIL were going out of town to visit MIL's mom a few weeks after he found out. I had a work friend with a rent house. I helped JR pack his stuff, which was like 90% of the apartment, and he moved out. He sent an email to Maggie about why he moved out. He left a check for rent and utilities through the end of March when the lease is up and informed the landlord that he was not renewing. Maggie got the email and called JR numerous times while on the trip. My wife called me and asked what was going on and where was JR. I told her that JR moved out and he was safe, but I will not tell her where he is. They got back and Maggie flipped about all the stuff JR took. My wife was quite angry and demanded to know where JR was. I kept telling her that he is safe, but I am not telling her where he is. The last month has been tense and my wife has begged and made threats to know where JR is. She has even tried using my phone to impersonate me to call JR and get information. I have since changed my passcode. She says, "We are married, this is affecting my family, I deserve to know." I refuse. She has even talked about this being divorceable. Am I the bad person? Can't wrap my head around that story. What do you think? Who is in the wrong there? Let us know down in the comments section, and let's move on to our last case. Case 4. Am I the bad person for refusing to switch my vacation dates because my coworker has kids? I, 30M, put in my vacation request months ago for a specific week. I made plans, booked flights, and was looking forward to it. Everything was approved by our manager with no issues. Last week, my coworker Lisa, 35F, found out that her kid's school break falls during the same week. She came to me and asked if I'd be willing to swap my vacation for a different time so she could take her kids on a trip. I told her I was sorry, but I had already made non-refundable bookings and didn't want to change my plans. She got frustrated and said, "It must be nice to have so much flexibility," implying that since I don't have kids, my plans aren't as important. I told her that just because I don't have kids doesn't mean my time off is any less valuable. Now she's giving me the cold shoulder at work, and another coworker mentioned that I could have been more understanding. But I don't think it's fair to expect me to give up my plans just because she has kids. Am I the bad person? You've sat down, you've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it gonna be? Let us have it down in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.